As you know, a lot of issues facing this country right now besides the pandemic, racial injustice, and you could agree, disagree. But a lot of people out there that have been outspoken, including a lot of athletes. Some of them I agree with, some I disagree with. They all have a right to speak, right? Unless you're Laura Ingraham and you tell people like LeBron James to shut up and dribble, and then you want to hear Ted Nugent, the draft dodger. But, one of those that came out, Steven Jackson. If you don't know who Steven Jackson is, he's a former NBA player. He was actually part of the melee, or as I like to call it, the malice at the palace. He was playing with Ron Artest and Reggie Miller on the Indiana Pacers. Remember, they went out into the crowd and started punching fans. That was a messy situation. But Steven Jackson, great NBA player. But before I get to Steven Jackson, let's talk about DeSean Jackson. Let me give you a little bit of background. If you don't know who DeSean Jackson is, Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver. He's 33 years old, certainly not in his prime anymore. But he posted an Adolf Hitler quote on his Instagram, and this is a guy who talks about Farrakhan, who retweets stuff about Farrakhan. DeSean Jackson said some really, really horrible things and said some bad things on social media about Jewish people. And it's disgusting.
So
that's what it is.
The DeSean Jackson quote you're talking about was actually falsely attributed to Hitler. But anyway, it was anti-Semitic nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, he's said some really anti-Semitic things on social media. And by the way, since then, DeSean Jackson has apologized. He's also said that he's meeting with a rabbi to understand what anti-Semitism is. When somebody makes a horrible mistake, you don't have to immediately accept the apology, but understand that he has taken action. That's what's important. He is taking action. Right, Stein?
Well, yeah, he's apologized, and he's meeting, like, what'd you say, with a rabbi or something?
Yes, correct.
And then Julian Edelman, the New England Patriots star who happens to be Jewish, actually just put out a video out on social media saying that he wants to get together with DeSean and have some burgers and go to the Holocaust Museum and have a nice conversation as well. But here's the quote that DeSean sent out. It stated that the white Jews know that the, quote, Negroes are the real children of Israel, and they will, quote, extort America. Their plan for world domination won't work if the Negroes know who they were.
Completely idiotic.
Anyway, that's, like I said, been attributed to Hitler, but Hitler apparently didn't actually say it.
Either way, it's anti-Semitism at its finest and completely idiotic, and I think DeSean Jackson is not a very intelligent person, because I think if he was, he wouldn't have done that. This comes at a time when we're talking about racial injustice, and many of the good people in this country are on your side about the kneeling, about police brutality, wanting to be treated as equals. This couldn't come at a worse time for DeSean Jackson. I hope he means what he says. I hope he's sincere in his apology, and I hope he does take action. Donate some money to a Jewish community center. Do something to say, listen, I effed up big time. I screwed up. I want to learn, and I'm sorry. He's taken the right step immediately by apologizing. I hope it's sincere. But I got to tell you, somebody that I think is such a dope, I can't even begin. Former NBA player Steven Jackson. Remember, Steven Jackson, a friend of George Floyd. He's been one of those outspoken people about police brutality, and I had no problem with that. No problem at all. A lot of people feel like he's done a lot of good in this situation with racial injustice. Fine. But Steven Jackson goes on a podcast, and he made some horrible comments on an Instagram talking about Jews and banking. It's terrible. So Steven Jackson went on CNN yesterday with Don Lemon. He says he used the wrong words when defending DeSean Jackson. Have a listen to this.
I'm going to tell you just like I told him, nice try. I've been out here fighting for justice, for equality. I was speaking on equality, why they wasn't handling Cooper and DeSean Jackson any other way. Like I said, they can twist it how they want to. You didn't hear a word of my mouth saying I hate Jews. You didn't hear a word of my mouth saying I'm supporting Hitler. They can twist it how they want. I don't hate nobody. I've been standing for everybody. I'm going to continue to, and that's just the end of it.
Okay.
No, it's not the end of it. Nobody's twisting your words, Mr. Jackson. You made a comment about Jews owning banks throughout the world. Okay? That is anti-Semitism. That is a hurtful stereotype. That is just as bad as if I went on the radio and I said all black people do are steal. That all they do is steal things. That would be a horrible thing to say. And it would be wrong. And it would be a stereotype. And it would hurt African Americans. You saying that Jewish people own all the banks and the money is a stereotype. And Stephen Jackson is so stupid, he doesn't even understand what he said was wrong. Now, Don Lemon, to his credit, remember, this is Don Lemon interviewing an African-American that is his friend. Say what you want about Don Lemon. I'm not a big fan of Don Lemon, but he did a good job in this interview, and he lit up Stephen Jackson in a respectful way. Don Lemon continued to press him on this issue and played an Instagram video that I'm talking about where Stephen Jackson talked about Jews and banking. Have a listen to this.
Never heard that come out of my mouth.
Okay, I don't want to get into an argument with you about this, but I don't know what you mean, nice try. All I'm doing is using your words and your posts, and I'm asking you about it. You can feel the way that you feel, but I'm not trying anything. No one is trying anything. We're just reporting the story, and nobody's trying to twist anything. You actually had an Instagram live conversation earlier, and you referenced the Rothschild banking family. Watch this.
Just said that Jews are the richest. You know who the Rothschilds are?
That's a specific example, I do. But in terms of
they control all the banks. They own all the banks.
Do you understand that is an anti-Semitic trope about Jews and money, and it's very offensive? Stephen.
Hey, Don, but can you go back and watch the whole conversation while we brought it up? We was talking about money. And when I said that he didn't take it the wrong way, he said that people with money wasn't associated with Jews. And I just asked him that. It wasn't an insult, and he didn't take it as an insult. Our conversation went on, and we had a good conversation. So the person I'm talking to understood what I was saying, and he didn't take it as an insult. I don't think nobody else should.
Okay, do you realize what an idiot Stephen Jackson is? First of all, just because the guy interviewing you didn't take it as an insult doesn't mean what you said wasn't wrong, you dope. By the way, I know I shouldn't say so many, I know several college basketball coaches that were considering, and have been around for a long time, by the way, that were considering recruiting this kid, Stephen Jackson, when he was younger, because he was a hell of a basketball player and a great athlete. But the reason why they didn't, because he was a dope, because he was literally stupid. And this proves it right here. This man, Stephen Jackson, still doesn't understand what he said was wrong. This is my whole opinion when it comes to this stuff. Don't talk to me about racial injustice. Don't talk to me about George Floyd. Don't talk to me about police brutality. Don't talk to me about slavery. Don't talk to me about oppression when you can't even understand that when you make a comment about money and Jews owning banks, and you can't even apologize for that. You have zero credibility. And you know what? Stephen Jackson is so dumb, he doesn't even understand. It's not even at a point where I would even say that I think Stephen Jackson is an anti-Semite. You know what I think it is? Stephen Jackson is so dumb, he doesn't even understand what anti-Semitism is. That's how stupid this guy is. Really. That's how dumb Stephen Jackson is. All he had to say on Don Lemon was this. You know what? My comments were insensitive. They were wrong, and I apologize. I should never have said that. My apologies to the Jewish community. That's all he had to say. But he didn't. He didn't apologize. Because of his stupidity, he made excuses. And you could even hear Don Lemon going, like Don Lemon doesn't even know what to say. Because the man made a comment about Jews and money. And anytime you do that, it is offensive. Because it is a nasty stereotype. Ilhan Omar did the exact same thing. This isn't about attacking Republicans or Democrats. I attacked Ilhan Omar. This was like a year and a half ago. I did hours talking about what a horrendous human being she is. Talking about it's all about the Benjamins when talking about Jews. Disgusting. And what Stephen Jackson did is the same. Don't talk to me about racial injustice. You lost that privilege, Stephen Jackson. You lost that privilege. And by the way, you were one of the players that went into the crowd and started punching fans because you're a dumbass. That's why. I don't care how good of a basketball player you were. You're an idiot. How can you make a comment about money and Jews, not understand about how offensive it is, and your defense is, well, you know what? You didn't play the whole conversation. You know, we were talking about money. Really, this is this guy's excuse. We were talking about money. And, you know, the podcaster who was interviewing me, he wasn't offended. So what? If I'm doing an interview with somebody, God forbid, and I would never do it, and I'm interviewed by an African-American and I use the N-word, my defense is, well, you know, the guy that was interviewing me, he wasn't offended, so nobody else should be offended by it. That's how stupid you are, Stephen Jackson, you idiot. What do you guys think about this? The number to call, I want to hear from you. Should we hear from DeSean Jackson ever again when it comes to racial injustice?